Hey guys, thanks for joining me. We're talking about spiritual warfare. We began yesterday by just assuring ourselves that we're actually on victory's ground. Greater is he who's in us than he who's in the world. That's our standard standpoint when we deal with the devil, the world, and the flesh. We are going to win this battle. We may lose a few battles, but at the end of the day, because I've read the end of the book, I know that we win. So stand firm, resist the devil, and he will surely flee from you. Now remember that he's only one of our three enemies. We have the world and the flesh that we have to deal with as well. And we'll be looking at these over the course of the next few weeks. But this person of the devil, he has a lot of power. Don't mess with him. Don't try and play games with him or outwit him. He's not going to fall for that. It's God in us that gives us the victory over him. And he can affect so many different areas of our lives. He can affect us relationally. He can bring us down spiritually. He can mess us up physically. He can trash us emotionally if we will allow him to do those things. So pretty much most areas in our lives are going to be affected by this person we call the devil. So we need to know how to deal with him. Now, when we understand the nature of spiritual warfare, and we understand the nature of the fact that greater is he who's with us than he who's in the world, we understand that the power that we have is not of our own. I say that again. And I realize as we look at the story of Elisha, when he was surrounded in Dothan and his servant went up on the wall and came back with a terrible report to say, Elisha, the enemy has got us. They have surrounded the city. We're dead. And Elisha probably just smiled and said, no, we're not. No, we're not. And he prayed a prayer and said, Lord, won't you open his spiritual eyes? And Gehazi's eyes were suddenly opened, and he looked around and he saw the magnificence of he who was with them. And he made that Old Testament declaration that greater is he who's with us than he who's outside of the walls. That same statement has been spoken about again. This time it simply says, greater is he who's in us than he who's in the world. And so as we embark upon this journey, let's make sure that we realize that. Now, we're talking about spiritual warfare. If you've ever studied the rules or the tactics of war, it's very important that you dominate high ground. If you're in any form of war, you will see soldiers who will try and find higher ground because it's easier to fight down than it is to fight upwards. And so dominating high ground is a very important thing. Now we have a beautiful illustration of this in Exodus chapter 17. We have Moses dominating high ground, where he had to come up against the Amalekites. And the Amalekites were an incredibly powerful army. And all he had was Joshua and a bunch of peasant people that came out of Egypt. And they weren't soldiers. They hadn't been trained in the art of warfare. And we read how they had to go up against the Amalekites. And so he goes to Joshua and he says, so Joshua, we're going to fight these guys. And Joshua says, yo, have you seen how many there are? He says, don't worry about that. And Joshua says, well, what do you want me to do? He says, well, you get the guys, you go and fight the battle. But as for me, I'm just going to go and sit on the hill up there, and I'm going to watch the battle from afar. And Joshua probably thought, so Moses, that's a bit of a cop-out. Surely you should be fighting the battle in the valley with us. And Moses made this statement and says, no. I'll be on the valley, on the hill, and I will be praying. You see, prayer is one and probably the greatest of the tools of warfare that we have in our arsenal. Prayer. I want to do stuff. I don't want to sit there and pray. I want to get in the battle. And God says, no. There's a battle that's got to be fought, but it is won at the place of prayer. Moses found that place where he went up onto the mountain with her and Aaron, and as he was praying, he was tired. They raised his hands, and they made a great observation. They made a connection between victory in the valley as a result of prayer on the mountain. You see, the valley is the place where the battle is fought, but the mountain is the place where the battle is won. It begins at the place of prayer. And people who are hyperactive, we don't want to hear that. We want to get trained. We want to get into our tactics. We want to know And I got to tell you, people, relax. Get on your knees. Pray for victory in the valley, because it's won on the mountaintop of prayer. So I really hope that this lesson will come to us today. As you read your Bibles, look for this principle, that prayer is the foundation, is the greatest tool, is the greatest resource that was given to us to defeat the devil. There are other ones, and we will talk about them. But when you feel that the devil is having a go at you, when you feel that the world is too much for you and the flesh is dominating who you are, think about this. Don't run around trying to fix the problem. Get on your knees and pray. And the God of peace will invade your heart. The God of peace that he gives, that it passes all understanding, will begin there. The prayer and the peace in your heart go hand in hand before you fight the war against the enemy. I hope that works for you. Go and have a good day. Bye.